Good morning and welcome. Here now in the presence of candidates for academic recognition, members of the faculty and administration, trustees, alumni, honored guests, parents, and friends of the University of Vermont, the 212th University Commencement Ceremony is hereby convened. Let me begin by taking a moment to introduce our University Herald, Patricia M. Corcoran, Assistant Dean for Student Affairs in the College of Arts and Sciences. As representative of the faculty body, I am delighted to be here today on this very special occasion. The faculty at the University of Vermont take great pride in our students and their accomplishments. It has been a pleasure to have been a part of your education. Remember that commencements are really more about beginnings than endings, and we know you are off to a great start. I was getting ready to teach my last class of the semester, Structure of the English Language, or Basic English Grammar, and I decided to look for some quotes, something to spice up the last review of English grammar and even add a spark to the diagramming of sentences. I came across the following quotation. It is by Anonymous, as so many quotes are. Knowledge is knowing that the tomato is not a vegetable. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad. Also, like many quotes that you find by searching for funny quotes on the internet, this one sounds a lot more profound than it is. But it is amusing, and it actually brings up the following questions. What is the difference between knowledge and wisdom? And what have you been about at UVM these last 2, 3, 4, or sometimes more years? Have you been becoming wise or knowledgeable? More importantly, have you been collecting both and putting them together, integrating them as you ready yourselves to enter into the next chapter of your lives? I would suggest that knowledge is the skills, the facts, the theories that you acquire throughout your college career, and of course, all of your life. Wisdom, on the other hand, is the ability to use all of that to the betterment of yourself and your fellow citizens. As a representative here today of the faculty with whom you have worked during your time here, I think it's fair to say that we have worked hard to instill lots of knowledge. But we also hope that we have encouraged and inspired you to turn that knowledge into wisdom. As you leave UVM, I wish you both, but most of all, I wish you the wisdom to carry on and make of your lives the kind of success that I know by virtue of having taught some of you in my classes and met many more of you that you are capable of. Congratulations, and have a wonderful, knowledgeable, and wise future, and a lot of tomato-free fruit salads. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand while Mary Kate Ellsworth, accompanied by the University Brass Quintet, leads us in singing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early University of Vermont Police Services Honor Guard will now retire the colors. It is now my pleasure to introduce Lisa M. Ventris, class of 1977 and graduate class of 1991 of the University of Vermont Board of Trustees.
Good morning, Catamounts. On behalf of my colleagues on the Board of Trustees, I extend a warm winter greeting to our graduates, your family and friends, and to all members of the UVM community joining us today. December graduation may be slightly less hectic than the larger May affair, but it's certainly no less significant. So it's my distinct honor and pleasure to congratulate all of you on your many and varied accomplishments during your time at UVM. Your hard work and sacrifice have taken you to this important figurative and literal stage. It represents a passageway to your future, a threshold that you have worked long and hard to cross over, some longer and harder than others. So I too would like to share one of my favorite literary references with you this morning, which I think seems appropriate, and it is this. "What day is it?" asked Pooh. "It's today," squeaked Piglet. "My favorite day," said Pooh. So indeed, today is a special and favorite day for many of you that are celebrating. It's a day to celebrate you, your intellectual curiosity and your tenacity, to celebrate the support that you've received from your family, advisors, friends, and professors. Who knows where you will go forward from today? And it is a busy time of year, we recognize. So after the flurry of activity has subsided, we hope that you'll take some time to reflect on your achievement and the important life lessons that you've learned during your time at UVM. Remember them as you enter this next great chapter of your life. And consider these friendly and unsolicited suggestions. Maintain an active and healthy lifestyle, because in doing so, you'll nurture your mind and body to continue to help you reach your fullest potential. Be an involved member of your community, because wherever you go, it will be your community, and you will have a chance to help shape its identity. Stay in touch with your UVM family, and support each other as you head out into the world and struggle with the challenges that you will inevitably face. Remember your professors. They can be your mentors long after you have left college, and be sure to come back for reunion weekend. Pay attention to the world around you. While today we recognize your academic achievement, and for most of you, it will be an end of your time at UVM, remember that the learning never stops. In reality, you can't turn it off. So embrace and nurture the lifetime of learning that you have ahead of you, and it will serve you well. And lastly, remember your manners. Start by thanking your families for their sacrifices and the support that they have made to help you get through your years here at UVM. They have been there for you, and they will continue to be there for you. So in closing, warm congratulations to UVM's 2013 December graduates and your supporting cast. An exciting, interesting future waits for you on the other side of this stage. Go Cats, go.
Please welcome the President of the Student Government Association, Connor D. Daly, class of 2014.
Good morning and welcome. There's an old proverb that goes, "A wise man speaks when he has something to say, a fool when he has to say something." So naturally, I was asked to say something today. First, I'd like to say congratulations to all of the graduates. You have today completed a challenge that only a small part of the world has an opportunity to engage in. and that a still smaller part even completes. I have not yet reached the point you all have. To be honest, for me, college has seemed rather arbitrary sometimes. You go to class, you read a book, you write a paper or fool around in a lab. You do everything that you're supposed to do while trying to figure out what you want to do. We all have expectations about the future. We all have standards. And I expected college to define for me the three things that I have truly struggled with. For me, I wanted college to define the concept of time, the concept of innovation, and the concept of love. I wanted it to teach those things to me. And it hasn't. And that's why I thought college was sometimes arbitrary. What the people of college have taught me is that arbitrariness is instead a challenge. And it is the quintessential challenge of our times. That with as much information, with as much knowledge available to us, how easy it is to communicate to anybody and everybody, it is still no easier to find yourself. College has taught me instead that challenge is not about choosing what you want to define or even what you want to do. It's about learning how you want to live. We are all here today, you, the people behind me, but most importantly, the people surrounding you right now. Your friends, your family, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your spouse, your partner, your archenemy. Because we celebrate that the time you spend and have spent discovering how you want to live is completely your own. And we are extremely proud of you for it. So if I have something to say, it's that it is fine to have high expectations, but do not define yourself by them. As you enter the world, sometimes you just have to shut up and take a risk, because you never know what you'll be able to innovate. You never know how much time you have to do it, and you'll never know what you'll fall in love with. As you listen today about your accomplishments, your potential, and your future, also take a moment to appreciate the weight of this moment as a celebration of you, because you have exceeded all of our expectations. Congratulations.
Please welcome the President of the Staff Council, Catherine E. Simmons, Graduate College, Class of 2008.
Good morning, graduates, families, and friends. As President of the Staff Council, I am pleased and honored to address you on behalf of the more than 2,000 staff members who work at the University of Vermont. In our various roles, we have been with you throughout your academic journey, and we now join you in celebrating your success on this very special occasion. During this busy holiday season, we are truly fortunate to have this opportunity to take the time to pause and reflect on your achievements. We know how hard you've worked to reach this moment, and we applaud your efforts. This is also a season of giving, and we would like to give you, our graduates, thanks for letting us support you during your academic journey. Whether we've helped you carry your boxes up to the 4th floor of a residence hall on move-in day, or guided you through the challenging process of applying for student financial aid, whether we've advised you on potential career opportunities or helped you mail a package to a loved one, whether we've helped you purchase textbooks or assisted you with finding a job on campus, or whether we've driven the bus, plowed the sidewalks, cleaned the classrooms, responded to an emergency, maintained your academic records, or just sat and listened when you needed to talk. In all these ways, we've helped you reach this milestone in your life, and you are the visible proof that we have done our job well. This past August, President Sullivan announced the establishment of a new Presidential Staff Recognitions Award program. According to the President, the goal of these awards is to recognize an exceptional group of individuals on the UVM staff who have made extraordinary contributions and who have had a significant impact on our university, as demonstrated through the values expressed in our common ground, the document of aspirations and shared values for the UVM community. Although there will be a limited number of formal awards given out, seeing each of you receive your degrees this morning is its own true reward. So I ask you, as you continue your life's journey, take a look around you and see all the ways in which you are supported to achieve your goals. Try not to take for granted the support systems in your life, but stop every now and then and thank that person who provided you with a service. It will make a big difference. And so I thank you. Thank you for making a difference in the lives of the staff at UVM and allowing us to make a difference in yours. Congratulations.
Please welcome the Vice President of the Graduate Student Senate, Jennifer L. Swain, class of 2009, and graduate class of 2014.
Thank you. Nelson Mandela once said, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." There is much truth to that, and for the graduates today, this represents a watershed moment brimming with possibility and opportunity. And with this privilege comes great power. And if I may be so bold as to quote Peter Parker, otherwise known as Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility as well. Mandela's life, and indeed his legacy, call for a different kind of action, to find different ways to look at the world, to constantly question, engage, educate, and empower. That is what education is about, and this is especially what graduate education is about. We must combine our individual knowledge and strengths and work collaboratively to find solutions to the complex issues in the world today. And there are many. In a world that's becoming smaller, a global village, it becomes critical to innovate, to collaborate, to see the bigger picture and the interconnectedness of it all. But at the end of the day, the challenge is to find the passion and keep it alive. And today is where that challenge begins. There are no more classes and grades, no more long hours at the library. The motivation and the passion need to come from within and without, and we'll need our dreams and ambition more than ever. So remember, once again, in the words of Mandela, there is no passion to be found in playing small, in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. So my message to you is live it, engage, educate, empower, and do it passionately. On behalf of the Graduate Student Senate, congratulations.
Please join me in welcoming Penrose Jackson, class of 1970 and board member of the University of Vermont Alumni Association.
I bid you a brisk, chilly Vermont morning. Good morning. My name's Penrose Jackson, and I am a graduate of the class of 1970. I also have the privilege of serving as the vice president of the UVM Alumni Association. It's a pleasure to be here today as we gather to celebrate your accomplishments on this very special occasion. I'm sure that many of you are already feeling a little nostalgic, thinking about what you've experienced at UVM, and you may be even a little bit nervous about moving on to the next stage, the next chapter in your lives. Each of you will chart your own course in the years ahead, and I know you will accomplish great things. As you take this next step, please know that you are surrounded by an extended family of UVM alumni, numbering more than 105,000 people. These individuals stand ready to support you in any way they can. You will find us nearly everywhere around the globe, making a difference in the fields from medicine to education, business, agriculture, journalism, science and technology, engineering and mathematics, environment, the arts, in schools and in hospitals, in large corporations and in small businesses, and in nonprofits of every possible description. We continue to build a strong alumni community and network that will always be there for you, and we encourage you to take advantage of it. Whether it's through the UVM Alumni Association website, the Vermont Quarterly magazine, or the social media with which we've all become so familiar, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and others yet to be invented, or in person at UVM gatherings across the country and around the world, where we gather to celebrate shared interests or just share the common bond of our alma mater. As a member of our alumni family, we are also pleased to offer you a growing portfolio of benefits and services providing discounts for travel, for insurance, for credit cards, skiing, restaurants, and much more. And last, but certainly not least, we are in the process of creating a home for you when you return to campus, Alumni House, where a fresh cup of coffee or cocoa or tea awaits you whenever you return to our blessed campus. As you leave us now, I want to encourage you, please stay in touch. Continue the connections you have formed here. The friendships you were made will never go away. The traditions you've come to honor, remember them. And also remember the many memories that will remain very much a part of you as you go through life. UVM will always be with you. Do come back whenever you can, and especially for your reunion gatherings. The door will always be open to you. We wish you every success in whatever you undertake, with the help of excellent education you received here and the support of fellow alums and professors. On behalf of more than 105,000 UVM alumni, congratulations and welcome, each and every one of you, to our alumni family. I'm going to quote Humphrey Bogart, who spoke as Rick in Casablanca, who said, but I'm going to change it a little bit. I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. I change it to say, I think this is the continuation of a beautiful friendship. Congratulations.
It is now my distinct pleasure and true honor to introduce Professor of Political Science and President of the University of Vermont, E. Thomas Sullivan.
Good morning, and a hearty congratulations to all of our graduates and to their families who are all here today to support them. You are all a very talented group of students, and we are delighted to celebrate your achievements here today with your family and your friends and your loved ones. For our undergraduate students, 11 of you are elected into the very prestigious Academic Society of Phi Beta Kappa. Among your ranks are award winners from every college and department and school. Many of you have furthered your education by choosing to write a thesis, to study abroad, or to complete an internship. We are very proud of your accomplishments. At the University of Vermont, our educational mission is to prepare students to be dedicated, ethical, accountable, global leaders. As graduates of UVM, you are now well equipped to become highly effective leaders. You have nurtured your independent mindedness through your years here at the university. And in addition, you have honed those so important critical thinking, communication skills, and problem-solving abilities. In an age of rapid technological change and the shifting global economies, you are ready to enter, as my previous colleagues have said this morning, a pretty complex and challenging workforce. As the public intellectual Thomas Friedman has written, quote, "In such an age, the greatest survival skill that you can have is the ability to learn how to learn." And that is what your great liberal education experience at UVM has taught you. Your ability how to learn throughout the rest of your life, how to learn. There's a growing momentum in young leaders today. Your generation is increasingly being called the first global generation. You know the earlier term, the millenniums. It seems to be being replaced with the first global generation. And this generation, your generation, is truly multicultural. You've studied, you've socialized, and you've worked with people with very different backgrounds and diversities. You are also more likely than probably any other class to have studied and to work and to lived abroad and gotten to know many different cultures. More than 2,830 American college students last year studied abroad. Never before have we had so interconnected a global society. That's 3 times more than went abroad 2 decades ago. And at UVM, 25% of this undergraduate class that graduates today have studied abroad. Former Governor of Vermont, Howard Dean, was on our campus just a couple of weeks ago, and he talked about the first globals. He talked about your class. And what he said was that this is the generation that will ignite and implement change that we've never seen before. Ignite and implement change like we've never seen before. Your generation are known to be more socially and economically justice-oriented than previous generations. You are, as previous speakers have just said this morning, so much more socially connected than other generations, interconnected socioeconomically, nationally, religiously, and ethnic group interconnectedness. That's what we experience today. And while previous studies may have suggested that your generation, previously called the millenniums, may be pretty self-centered, and even some journalists have written pretty narcissistic, it turns out that the new research says exactly the opposite, gratefully. A recent New York Times article of 2 weeks ago cited a number of stories, pretty impressive research behind the Times story. And what it says is that this new generation, the class before us today, is really about having meaningful jobs that lead to meaningful changes in society. That's a very different look at your class than we've been told previously. And we are grateful that you are focusing on a meaningful life, how that is determined by you. And the data from the National Society of High School Scholars also shows the same. It says clearly that you want to give back, that you want to be connected, that you want to be civilly engaged in more ways than generations previously have even thought. And the present dean at UCLA's Public Policy School, Frank Gittleman, has said this. He said, about your generation, he said, you share a fate, and you're connected and linked in this fate together across your generation. And he said that whatever happens anywhere around the world, say Mumbai, that within seconds or minutes you will know and perhaps even feel it here in Vermont or in Boston or in New York. The interconnectedness, that world that we live in today, you want to make a meaningful change in that. Importantly, your generation is noted for its strong belief that individuals have power to make significant change. The individuals, you as individuals. The Chronicle of Higher Education found recently in a story with significant supporting data that these are the characteristics that you came into college with, and by all indications, you sit here and graduate today with. 65% of you, when you were polled as you were matriculating through in the last 4 years, responded that you expected to socialize and were socializing with people of other racial and ethnic diversities that you never had before. 84% of you have performed civic engaged volunteer work. 84%. I don't think any college generation before that has done that. And importantly for our democracy, 82% of the students polled were registered voters. And over 75% of the students said, we are going to make positive change in a meaningful way. You already have done that on our campus in many large and small ways. Just a couple of examples. Our bike users group provide free bikes, and of course with bikes you have to have repairs, and in this case free repairs to anybody on our campus. Importantly, our eco-representatives have educated people through our residence halls across our campus about the importance of sustainability of our environment, and hopefully that has sent strong messages broader about sustainability in this interconnected global world. Your altruism and your inclusiveness and the contributions that you've already made are a terrific foundation for what you need to do as you leave us today. You leave with a very strong university sense of community and volunteerism. That goes to the core of who a UVM student and graduate are. And you know, the national press has picked up on this pretty clearly. In the fall, there was a remarkable article in the Atlantic Monthly by James Fallows, the senior editor of that distinguished magazine. He actually came to Burlington, and this is in summary what he said about you and us and this fabulous university and this special community we live in. He said, you know, there's something very special about that public ivy in Burlington. There is a relationship between the intellectual and the academic quality of that public ivy and this very special community called Burlington. There's a sense of community. There's a sense of voluntarism. And there's a sense of sharing and living together. You know, that kind of press just doesn't get much better. And you participated and played a keen role in his observations. I'd like to conclude my remarks this morning by quoting another individual that we've heard a lot about in the last 2 weeks. As we know, President Kennedy died slightly more than 50 years ago. But I think what he said on one occasion, at least, is so critically important for a message today. And this is what President Kennedy said, quote, "Never before has man," we changed the gender there, "never before has man had such capacity to control his environment, to end thirst and hunger, to conquer poverty and disease, and to banish illiteracy and massive human misery." And he went on to say, "We have the power, you have the power to make this the best generation in the history of the world, or to make it the last." End of quote. As emerging leaders, as you leave us today, you have great responsibility. And I hope you will build your ambitions and set your sights to make a difference in the society that you move into. You already have shown, in the words of Thomas Friedman, how to learn to learn, and in this case, throughout your life, and to work with a very diverse community and being engaged. I look forward to the ways that you and others in the first global generation are going to shape business, politics, education, advanced technology, and society in general. And we've got a lot of work to do. But with your fine University of Vermont degree that you received today, that we celebrate with you today, and all the talents that you have. The question and the challenge for you are, how will each of you make a positive difference in your society? To be successful in fostering a positive difference, I hope you will ignite your ambition and your optimism. Those ought to be your North Star. Winston Churchill appropriately said it so well, quote, "A pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. An optimist sees an opportunity in every difficulty." Which will you choose? Optimism or pessimism as you chart the next stages in the wonderful life ahead? Congratulations and best wishes to all of you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to introduce my friend and colleague, Major Jackson, the Richard Dennis Green and Gold Professor of English, who will deliver today's commencement address.
Well, I have to admit, I was tempted to give a 20-minute poetry reading because if this number is more than 800 people in this room, this might be the largest group that I've addressed in a while. I'm used to going to Barnes & Noble in suburbs and reading poems to an audience about 2 to 10 people. So, President Sullivan, Provost and Senior Vice President David Rosowski, Board of Trustees, Dean and Vice Presidents, alumni, distinguished faculty, illustrious staff, proud parents and friends, and most especially all 275 graduates of this fine institution. It is an honor to share this special day with you. Next to teaching students for the past 11 years at the University of Vermont, without a doubt, addressing today's graduates and their supportive cast of friends and family is one of the great highlights of my career to date. President Sullivan, I thank you for the invitation to serve as commencement speaker and cheerfully join you, along with our esteemed colleagues, in saluting this well-adorned, well-read, erudite, well-prepared, values-driven, cultivated group of UVM graduates. We did good. I am made even more proud to speak today because, like so many here, I am a parent, and my 2 sons, Romy and Langston, accompany me on this special occasion. Langston is a senior at UVM, and I think will graduate in the spring from the business school. So although it is a blustery, cold winter day, in my mind, I am pretending it is May 2014, a warm 80 degrees under sunny skies as we sit on a university green, and that I am addressing him too. When I received the letter of request from President Sullivan, I checked my bucket list of goals I must achieve before I die, and then surprisingly to me, giving a commencement address was not on that list. However, giving a corporate packaged TED Talk, widely viewed on YouTube, by millions is on my list. So this is the closest I will come. Feel free over the next 15 minutes to social media the heck out of this speech. Tweet, Facebook, whatever you have to do. To friends who could not be here, I welcome the buzz. It'll help my sales in poetry. Initially, I thought I'd hastily said yes in reply. After I sent my email in the affirmative, I really thought about it. The profound task before me of sending you off with last words that will resonate and serve as a reminder of the profound significance of your academic accomplishment. Then I thought about it some more, and the longer I thought, the more I felt like I had jumped out of an F-35 in the middle of winter and was about to land in Lake Champlain, much like Bruegel's Icarus, without a sound. My assignment is to say something meaningful and authentic to you as you depart these grounds and undertake the next chapter of your life. As a poet, my business is metaphor, so you will have to excuse the proliferation of allusions and similes, quotations of poets, philosophers, singers that fly in your direction. In short, we are testing your learning one last time. Seriously, there will be a final test at the end of this commencement. When you march out of this room, there will be Scantron sheets and those little short half pencils. Seriously, there is no day like this one. Graduation is one of the eminent non-sectarian rituals that announce one of the most important transitions in your life, from being an adolescent to a young adult. Here you are. You did it. In your march towards graduation, you gave your senior music recital. You wrote a 25-page seminar paper on beat poetry. You carried out a complete statistical analysis for a research project guided by one of your professors. You logged many hours in front of your computer. You drank many cups of lattes. In times past, and still in our 21st century, along with more formal coming-of-age rites, ceremonies such as today define our realities and give structure to the seemingly chaotic flux of time. Religious and cultural customs such as christenings, baptisms, bar mitzvahs connect us all the more to metaphysical and spiritual realities beyond this world. In short, rituals mark the passing and turning of the years and the meaning of life. We remember the glorious day you were born, your first day at preschool, your first middle school jazz recital in which you sounded like a seal, squealing on the saxophone, yet it was the best squeaky seal we ever heard, and we were proud to see you struggle to hit the notes. We remember the last-minute shopping on Saturday mornings for a gift for your best friend's birthday party at noon, all the lacrosse and soccer games, or when we first learned of your first crush, your first romantic yearnings. We remember your getting dressed for a homecoming dance or prom. Then in this rapid pace, the anxiety of standardized tests, the admission letters to college, and now today, where you stand before us, regal and stately in your graduation robes, only a short while away from becoming a graduate of this first-rate university. A reputable and beautiful school, we would add, but when we visited and toured in the winter months, we weren't sure we would visit you all that much. Such symbolic moments score your short journey on earth and afford meaning, purpose, and beauty when sometimes there seems to be little in our day-to-day lives. We need celebratory moments like today to not only rejoice at your completing your studies at University of Vermont, but to also reflect upon the journey, to look back and ruminate on the meaning of your most recent achievement and growth as a human being. Poet C.K. Williams believes formal rituals instill within us a capacity to read the larger symbolic order of existence. And thus, in my mind, your graduation ceremony extends this symbolic order and points us to a unique opportunity for renewal. a chance for you graduates and all of us as a community to begin again. Have you ever imagined what would happen if teachers and professors the world over assigned the duty of passing on our most treasured stories, poems, and plays, responsible for teaching us the intricacies of our legal system, how to solve mathematical equations, for demonstrating historical examples of abuses of power? What if teachers suddenly abdicated their responsibility and decided to no longer stand before us in classrooms and dispense the accumulated knowledge that was passed to them? What if teachers suddenly dropped off the face of the earth? How would we commence as a society? Could we go on? Imagine a world where nothing worked, where bridges collapsed, the cell phones in your hands never gained a signal. Imagine a world without productions of Shakespeare's plays, or where Whitman's great American poem, Leaves of Grass, was never read. Imagine a world where Bach's Brandenburg concertos were never interpreted and played live in concert again because no one instructed the violinists on how to read sheet music, not just as a virtuoso, but emotively. It is indeed a miracle, isn't it? This moment, right now. Simply put and said this way, I can call to mind only a few other tasks that are as sacred and important, that animate our collective cause, than when a generation of scholars, teachers, and instructors passes on the keys of its civilization, which keeps it running, that ensures continuity of progress and stability. And let me say this, by way of acknowledging and praising my colleagues at the University of Vermont, both part-time and full-time faculty members. Parents and friends, you should know this, if not already by now. My colleagues and I perform our jobs with extraordinary competence, with passion, elegance, and a sense of purpose and belief that your sons and daughters will carry forth with what they have learned here to become high-achieving, caring, successful, and learned members in their communities at home. Such work is pious upon closer inspection, and we consider it one of the most honorable vocations. But how does today's graduation point toward an opportunity for our renewal and growth? Well, not only do students have an obligation to succeed here at the University of Vermont, which they have so done, but to also innovate and take us to heretofore areas of advancement after graduation. Each generation is obliged to look on and assess the works of previous generations, to interrogate and challenge, to ask, how can we improve and build upon the successes? Without this spirit of willful innovation, we are doomed to calcify into a nation whose infrastructure, both physical and psychic, will degenerate, where we become a monument only unto ourselves. Like Narcissus, perpetually looking on himself as the seasons change around him. Or like Ozymandias' broken stone monument lying scattered in the desert, ironically bearing the words, "My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair." I know telling you that our renewal as a civilization is in your hands is a tall order. Many of you just got a good night's sleep after weeks of studying and months of sitting in classes. And now I am asking you to save the world? Not really. Not exactly. We realize today that you are, more than anyone else here, especially endowed with the spirit and responsibility to continue the betterment of society and to sustain the practices and beliefs that make us great. As you know, our world is far from perfect, and our flaws are revealed every day in online newspapers around the globe. In this expanding technological world we live, we face new problems and dilemmas, some of them new, others as old as the rotation of the sun. From the national security agencies' encroachment on civilian privacy to homelessness and hunger right here in the United States, to serious adverse climate changes. We are in need of gathering our brightest young minds, that is, you, to address the shortcomings and challenges we face this very moment. And dear faculty, if we have done our jobs, if our pedagogy is far-reaching and radical, then we have instilled in our students an irrepressible commitment to independent thinking, a moral and intellectual inclination towards improving the world, and a grand optimism for the future and their role in creating that future. Their education is more than a canon of great literature and chemical experiments, but one that profoundly augurs the prospects of our tomorrows. I want to publicly commend both the Honors College and the UVM Student Research Conference, two undertakings since I arrived at the University of Vermont that have dramatically altered how students see themselves as more than receptors of our cherished syllabi, but as emergent and questioning scholars, artists, and potential entrepreneurs. Not that we have not been doing this before, it's just that we have intensified our purpose in undergraduate and graduate research, in encouraging students to gain more from their education and to take advantage of the opportunities that their scholarly and scientific research, as well as creative work at UVM, naturally pushes them toward. Graduates, today's ceremony also continues your acute and grand search to discover who you are and where you will take your place in the world. The search for self has been the subject of our most ancient myths, our most beloved novels and poems, from Stephen Dedalus and Joyce's Dublin to the young girl in Elizabeth Bishop's poem In a Waiting Room, realizing that she shares the same human traits of the African natives she sees in the National Geographic magazine. To Kafka's Gregor Samson, awakening to a frightening and incomprehensible universe. The search for identity has been the most gripping and compelling of human struggles in the stories we tell. Think of Harry Potter. That search is not an easy one and has always been written with shock and dread. However, what these stories reveal is that you are not alone. You face the big questions, as all of us on the platform once faced and to some extent continue to countenance. Now, what do I do? Where do I go from here? Who am I? Historian Arthur Schlesinger Jr. once wrote, "It can be plausibly argued that the conditions of modern life make the quest of identity more difficult than it has ever been before." How do you find yourselves in the onslaught of reality TVs, shows, and media images and zombie movies that preempt any true desire and ambition, that project where you must live, what you must eat, what clothes you wear, and which dating website is best for you? The illusion is one of choice. Additionally, the news tells us job opportunities for post-undergraduate education are limited and dwindling. Let me tell you a secret. They've been saying that for many years. But let's say that's true. You probably thought when you declared your academic major at the start of your education here at University of Vermont, you were taking care of the bulk of that search. You probably thought I will major in Romance languages, for example, with hopes of becoming a high school Spanish teacher. You probably thought, like most of us, that you were on your way to a line of work that would, after graduation today, or after law school or graduate school or medical school in the future pretty much secure the direction of your life and establish your identity in some profession? Well, in many instances, yes, this happens. However, life is peculiar and unscripted. In the future, it is quite possible that you will have not one career, not two careers, but possibly 3 or 4 careers. You have multiple interests and opportunities to grow beyond here and now, where you first conceptualize your life as doing X or Y. I want to say this is your first stop along a much longer journey of self-discovery and fulfillment through your quest to discover who you are and what will be your life's work and mission, your ultimate contribution while here on this planet called Earth. The good news is that you're brutally young and have an abundance of time to pursue your true calling, whatever that may be. Some of you might have noticed from my biography, I went through this very struggle. I majored in business at Temple University. Particularly, my undergraduate degree is in accounting. However, my real passion was literature and creative writing. I took so many English classes as electives that my counselor suggested in my last semester, which was my 6th year in college, that I continue on another semester and double major in English and accounting. I couldn't stand the idea of spending another year in college, and thus I declined. But effectively, I turned my back on that which gave me immense pleasure in the hours when I was not studying, writing. But did I have any other choice? I came from a working class background. Education in my family was seen as a means of social and economic uplift, an ascendancy towards a life as a professional. However, for as long as I can remember, I loved words. Writing and poetry were my passions. It never occurred to me that I could have a life as a writer. There was no one in my family that wrote for a living, and especially not poetry. I primarily grew up with my grandparents, whose 3-floor tenement home in North Philadelphia contained books and books. I'm not talking a formal library, but stacks of books, wherever they'd fit and kind of be out of the way. Their idea of keeping one's eyes on the prize, like many African American families, was through literacy and education. I thank them just about nearly every day for this gift, and one that I would urge you, when you become parents, to start now building a library for your children to peruse and get lost in. But ultimately, I was expected to graduate and take my place among the professional classes. It did not take long after graduation from Temple University to find myself among a community of artists who helped me to refocus and realize that I was most myself as an artist. You know you were meant to do something when whatever that is makes you feel free. My path towards becoming a writer of poetry is pretty astonishing. Stuff of memoirs, full of acts of generosity, mentorships, encouragement, community, luck, hard work, persistence, for which I am eternally grateful, but I was lucky. I have gloriously found myself in a life where art, poetry, education, ideas, the life of the mind are central to my existence, and I'm surrounded by friends who also value as much. Moreover, here at UVM, I am blessed with a semester revolving door of students who I aid and help to find their voice in a democracy that professes to value their opinions, their thoughts, stories, and poems as citizens. I would not have it any other way. My aim in life as a poet is to breach the silence, to avoid anonymity. So much of life encourages us to be silent and anonymous. whatever your calling, be loud, be bold, be present, and engage. This week, yet again, I was reminded of my own undergraduate years at Temple, where as a student leader, I joined with a coalition of fellow students, staff, faculty, and forward-thinking administrators to protest the appearance of a South African ambassador on campus, a representative of the apartheid regime that long suppressed Black South Africans. For me and my generation, the struggle against apartheid allowed us to not merely study history, but to play a small part in shaping history. It was the largest and most defining struggle we aligned ourselves. The music we made, the clothes we wore, the art we patronized, all stemmed from a belief that such a system that subordinated whole groups of peoples into hierarchical, racialized categories needed to be abolished. The passing of Nelson Mandela affords another lesson we should take with us today. That is, to defy expectations. The system of apartheid, much like its American counterpart, Jim Crow segregation, was built on supremacy. It is very easy not to see the humanity of others and to believe that we are better than others. But quite the opposite. It is more demanding to acknowledge that we are all gifted with a purpose and reason for being on this earth. This is what our most sacred books and scriptures tell us. Mr. Nelson Mandela defied the world by not seeking revenge or retribution for his years of incarceration as a political prisoner in the long protracted war against apartheid, but instead he saw his oppressor's humanity and turned that into a power, both political and personal, that shines as an example for ages to come. He was truly a giant. In closing, I want to say, graduates, we got it wrong when we admitted you. Do you remember writing your college admission essay? Do you recall the anxiety and all the hours and weeks in preparation? The many people you asked to look over its argument, structure, and style? Remember the books you read, the online tips, the conversation with high school counselors? Should you write about the trip to Haiti to aid hurricane victims, or recall winning the state championship in some memorable sporting event? Well, of course, those were winning examples of your capacity to self-analyze, which landed you admission to UVM. But I say we got it wrong because we should not have had you write an admission essay, but instead had you write an exit essay in order to graduate, in order to receive your diplomas. It would not be addressed to us, but to your parents, friends, and extended family, where in it you thank them for their long, loving support. It would be handwritten, and it would detail your top 10 most special moments in the classroom and outside the classroom. You would tell them about looking at a blazing sunset over the Adirondack Mountains above Lake Champlain from the top of the fire escape or your dorm room. You would close your eyes and with your hand moving along lined paper with a pencil in it, evoke the scrunch of snow under your feet early mornings as you make your way to classes in Calkin or Living and Learning. You would tell them the feeling of being a member of the Catamount family, sporting some piece of green and gold clothing as you cheer on the women's hockey team or the men's basketball team in Patrick Gymnasium. You would highlight an epiphany that occurred to you as you sat in class learning of the Spanish Inquisition or analyzing Toni Morrison's character Shug in Beloved. Yes, tell them too about the difficult nights of tragically losing a friend or arguing with a boyfriend or girlfriend or roommate. The letter will evidence all of your learning to date, but maybe even more importantly, how you have grown as a sensitive and aware human being. Frankly, because we adults need your example to remind us how to continue to be human ourselves. Graduates, we marvel from whence you come and where you are today and where you are going tomorrow. For some of you, your baccalaureate and graduate education was a stream of endless assignments, laboratory reports, essays, group projects, deadlines. But then for some of you, your education was an opportunity to explore further the mysteries that animate our existence and your place in it. Your life will be defined by your search for who you are. This is the high holy season, a season ripe with symbols. The lights and songs remind us, in the end, we are gentle and that goodness abounds. You are a manifestation of all that is beautiful and right in the world in your parents' eyes. I pray that you are your own festival of lights in the years to come, and that you acknowledge the light in others, that you remember fondly your professors and friends while you were a student at this fine institution, the University of Vermont, and that you stay in touch. I will leave you with the words of one of our most treasured poets, the great Irish poet Seamus Heaney, who died this fall. This comes from his verse play, The Cure at Troy. A Greek chorus speaks to these words towards the end of the play that I find useful in celebrating you, in thinking about your futures, as well as remembering the long struggle for human dignity and equality on the earth, as occasioned by Mr. Nelson Mandela's passing. Human beings suffer. They torture one another. They get hurt and get hard. No poem or play or song can fully right a wrong, inflicted and endured. The innocent in jails beat on their bars together. A hunger striker's father stands in the graveyard dumb. A police widow in veils faints at a funeral home. History says, don't hope on this side of the grave. But then, once in a lifetime, the longed-for tidal wave of justice can rise up, and hope and history rhyme. So hope for a great sea change on the far side of revenge. Believe that further shore is reachable from here. Believe in miracle and cures and healing wells. Call miracle self-healing, the utter self-revealing double take of feeling. If there's fire on the mountain or lightning and storm and a God speaks from the sky, that means someone is hearing the outcry and the birth cry of new life at its term. Congratulations, graduates. I wish for you the brightest future filled with words as beautiful as these, and a life full of poetry, books, good friends, and a life rendered as beautiful as this day. Thank you.
Thank you, Major. University President E. Thomas Sullivan will now confer degrees in course. Joining him will be Professor of Engineering, Provost, and Senior Vice President David V. Rosofsky. In addition, faculty with a child, grandchild, or spouse graduating today have been invited to present their family member with their diploma.
Good morning. And all right, candidates, look smart. This is the moment everyone here in this room and many outside have been waiting for, and we will now confer the degrees in course. The Dean of the Graduate College, Dr. Cynthia Forehand, will present the candidates for the doctoral and master's degrees.
Doctor of Philosophy degree is the highest degree in all of academia and typically awarded after years of study and the successful completion and public defense of original, independent, and significant research. President Sullivan, I have the pleasure of presenting to you the candidates for the degree Doctor of Philosophy, and I ask you to confer upon them the degree for which they are recommended. Students, please come forward. Degree candidates will be hooded by their dissertation advisor.
Candidates for the Doctor of Philosophy: Rebecca A. Martin, Cellular and Molecular and Biomedical Sciences. Clark Van Dam, Electrical Engineering. Ron Wong, Animal Nutrition and Food Sciences. Candidates for the Doctor of Education: Sadiq Abdullah Dalan, Educational Leadership and Policy Studies. Erin Marie Donovan, Educational Leadership and Policy Studies. Candidates for the Master of Accountancy: Shua Yang, Accounting. Candidates for the Master of Arts in Teaching: Heather Louise Cutler, Curriculum and Instruction. Hannah L. Lindsay, Curriculum and Instruction. Elena Christine Palumbo, Curriculum and Instruction. Candidates for the Master of Business Administration: Michael Cady, Business Administration. Mark Renz, Business Administration. Katerina Regina Schall, Business Administration. Candidates for the Master of Education, John M. Alig, interdisciplinary. Heather Elizabeth Dunn, curriculum and instruction. Carrie Ann Mitchell, special education. Candidates for the Master of Public Administration. Ashley Victoria Wright Clark, public administration. Julie Christine Paris, public administration. Juan Zhang, public administration. Candidates for the Master of Science, Jonathan Bond. Jennifer Elaine Brennan, nursing. Ana Lucia Campaseco, biomedical engineering. Lily Chan, electrical engineering. Courtney Delabriere, nursing. Amy Dennis, nursing. Courtney Loretta Marie Doyle, historic preservation. Sean Harkness Elder, nursing. Marigot Farr. Luke Fereniars, mechanical engineering. Jennifer May Fenn, nursing. Samantha G. Ford, historic preservation. James Reynold Fregosi, statistics. Jessica Kristen Gerald, historic preservation. Jay Gagne, clinical and translational science. Robin Gonzalez, nursing. Natalie Ann Guarine, nursing. Faisal Amin Hariri, biostatistics. Alexander C. Johnston, nursing. Pushwinder Kao, chemistry. Daniel T. Leckie, historic preservation. Caitlin Lepori, historic preservation. Ranel Amelia Lutz, electrical engineering. David J. Manchester, nursing. Sarah Suzanne Palmer, counseling. Aaron Porter, mechanical engineering. Alyssa Portman, historic preservation. Andrew Reagan, mathematics. Anna Salate, statistics. Angret Schmidt-Johnson, nursing. Leah Linder Siegel, nursing. Phoebe Gerard Spencer, community development and applied economics. Anbu Selvan Vakashalam, electrical and engineering.
Thank you, Dean Forehand. And we'll now present the candidates for the bachelor degree. We'll begin with the Dean of the Honors College, Dr. S. Abu Rizvi.
The Honors College offers an intensely focused, academically challenging environment for some of the university's most outstanding undergraduate students. Our students graduate with a bachelor's degree from their home college or school and the designation Honors College Scholar. President Sullivan, my fellow deans and I have the pleasure of presenting to you the candidates for the bachelor's degree and the designation Honors College Scholar. Students, please come forward.
Elizabeth Ann Bennett, Rubenstein School of Environment and Natural Resources, Bachelor of Science, Environmental Sciences. Antonia David, College of Arts and Sciences, Bachelor of Arts, Political Science. Ashley Lauren Deeb, College of Arts and Sciences, Bachelor of Arts, Psychology. Brittany Nicole Dooling, Rubenstein School of Environment and Natural Resources, Bachelor of Science, Environmental Studies. Megan Emily J., School of Business Administration, Bachelor of Science. Ryan Patrick Mahar, Rubenstein School of Environment and Natural Resources, Bachelor of Science, Environmental Sciences. Erin Elizabeth Rolke, College of Arts and Sciences, Bachelor of Science, Neuroscience.
Thank you, Dean Rizvi. The Dean of the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, Dr. Thomas C. Vogelman.
President Sullivan, I have the pleasure of presenting to you the candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, and I ask you to confer upon them the degree for which they are recommended. Students, please come forward.
Emma Renee Allen, Community and International Development. Samuel Winslow Ashley, Biological Science. Heather Marie Bedell, Nutrition and Food Sciences. Caitlin Marie Benoit, Animal Science. Erin McKinney Blackburn, Nutrition and Food Sciences. Megan Rose Blake, Animal Science. Tabitha Marie Bouchard, Public Communication. Audrey Delaney Bruckner, Animal Science. Rachel Alexis Bueller, Public Communication. Kevin Christopher Bunch, Community and International Development. Thomas Rich Butolf III, Biological Science. Evan Brooks Cassidy, Community Entrepreneurship. Allison Ann Cronin, Nutrition and Food Sciences. Michaela Diefenbach, Animal Science, Nutrition and Food Science. Kristen Dara Gagnon, Community Development and Applied Economics. Joshua Daniel Bernard Gerwitz, Environmental Studies. Kayla Marie Kenny, Dietetics, Nutrition and Food Science. Savannah Lee Cattell Mitchell, Self-Design. Tara Marie Lyons, Dietetics, Nutrition and Food Science. Madison Rosetta McKay, Animal Science. Corey Kraft Mears, Animal Science. Nora Elizabeth Monaco, Nutrition and Food Science. Craig Michael Morrill, Ecological Agriculture. Eben Alden Musich, Community and International Development. Philip Andrew Nevins, Public Communication. Nolan Michael Parker, Dietetics, Nutrition and Food Science. Carrie Marjorie Phelan, Animal Science. Samantha Eileen Platina, Dietetics, Nutrition and Food Science. Ryan Anthony Pugliers, Community Entrepreneurship. Catherine Teresa Robinson, Sustainable Landscape Horticulture. Julia Rose Rummery, Community and International Development. Devin James Sanborn, Community Entrepreneurship. Kate Michelle Struhammer, Animal Science. Stephanie Michelle Tate, Environmental Studies. Duangamon Kongwang, Animal Science. Lu Bing Wang, Public Communication. Jillian Margaret White, Animal Science. Natalie Rose Wilson, Environmental Sciences. Ryota Yokosi, Biochemistry. Zhu Zhang, Public Communication.
Thank you, Dean Vogelman. The Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, Dr. Antonio Sapita Benito.
President Sullivan, I have the distinct pleasure and true honor of presenting to you the exquisitely prepared, most accomplished, best ever candidates for the Bachelor's of Arts and the Bachelor's of Science degrees. And on behalf of the faculty, I ask that you confer upon them the degree for which they are recommended.
Candidates for the Bachelor of Arts. Ivana Elkish, Political Science. Samuel G. Allen, Studio Art. Jason Amorosa, Sociology. Jennifer Marie Attig, Environmental Studies. Travis Sean Bartlett, Psychology. Adina Marie Bishop, Psychology. Nina Leah Barretz, Psychology. Larissa Bortz, Political Science and Economics. Jennifer Brandt, English. David John Gerard Kadriak, Political Science and Economics. Nicole Stephanie Cardelfi, Psychology. Milagro de Fatima Carranza Lazarte, Economics. Robert L. Chartier II, Biology. Ike Shepelis, English. Ethan Michael Cody, English. Evan Robert Davis Drennan, Computer Science. David G. Detweiler, Film and Television Studies. Hannah Dowdy, Russian. Zinnia Grace Farrell, Studio Art. David S. Figueiredo, Economics. Robin James Fitch McCullough, Political Science, History. Emma Fry Fitzsimmons, Global Studies. Maya Alexandra Foreman, Film and Television Studies. Amanda Caroline Fulmer, Anthropology. Jenna Alexandra Gallo, Psychology. Casey Gates, Psychology and Political Science. Alana Marie Gilbert, English and History. Jennifer Gonzalez, Japanese. Morgan Elizabeth Gray, Chinese. Aaron Isaac Guttenplan, English. Sarah May Hagan, Studio Art. Michael Hart, Political Science, Economics. Alexander Hernandez, Economics. Hillary Hilmer, Anthropology and Art History. Kaylee Ellen Holden, Psychology. Houston Ilo, Music. Peter William Jenkinson, History. Margot Catherine Kenny, Psychology. Louis Walter Porres Kiley, English. Justin Bruce LaPointe, History. Jeffrey D. Lemieux, English. Lauren B. Lenz, Environmental Studies. Vladimir Lerman, Political Science and Philosophy. Samuel Day Lewis, Environmental Studies. Patrick Mackin, Political Science. Michael Malamud, Psychology. Enya Rose Ann McLam, Anthropology. Justin Paul McLean, Environmental Studies. Emily McLowry, Environmental Studies. Louis Wilson Marola, History. Molly Teresa Miller, Film and Television Studies, Sociology. Rebecca Eileen Mintz, Anthropology. Degree will be presented by Beth Mintz, her mother, Professor of Sociology. Claire Muse Morrissey, Environmental Studies. Kara Marasco, Psychology. Ton Nguyen, Sociology. Aubrey Norman, English. Brielle Ann O'Brien, Chinese. Mary Odu, Global Studies. Lindsay Delano Oliver, Environmental Studies, Political Science. Oakley Payne Meyer, Environmental Studies. Jennifer Lee Phillips, psychology. Presenting today's diploma is her grandmother, Carol Lee Phillips, professor of pediatrics, emerita. David Bradley Porter, English and music. Dustin James Rader, English. James McKee Ridgely, environmental studies. Thomas Slattery Roberts, biology. Kristen B. Ryan, history. Matthew David Saladin, economics, political science. Zachary Glenn Saltzman, English. Eric P. Schwartzbach, political science. Colin C. Shippey, psychology. Daniel Rachel Smith, environmental studies. Sheila Claire Smith, psychology, studio art. Brittany Muir Stevens, political science. Caitlin R. Troutman, English. Zachary Tyson, sociology. Herman Rogelio Vivas, economics. Finn McGehee Westbrook, philosophy. David Jonathan Wesley, geography. Garrett James Odimandis White, English. Riley Melissa White, history and anthropology. Mandy L. Wooster, sociology. Michaela Corinne Yarnell, global studies. Candidates for the Bachelor of Science: Samuel Parker Armstrong, economics. Kyle Arndt, environmental sciences. Catherine Mary Ballas, neuroscience. She is also receiving a Bachelor of Arts in psychology. Gina Mary Cacciaro, neuroscience. Evan Albert Cooper, chemistry. Michaela R. Cornbrooks, biological science. Rebecca Jean Elliott, psychology. Connor James Ferguson, environmental sciences. Alessandra Valentina Hankinson, psychology. Peter David Jean, biochemistry. Michael A. Kent, psychology. Carolus Crullis, neuroscience. Samantha M. Luce, psychology. Monica Matterish, psychology. Greg Schaub, environmental sciences. William James Godek, environmental sciences. Borivo Golianin, psychology. Hien Vu, biochemistry.
Thank you, Dean Cepeda Benito. And now the Dean of the School of Business Administration, Dr. Sanjay Sharma.
President Sullivan, I have the pleasure of presenting to you the candidates for the Bachelor of Science in Business Administration degree in the School of Business Administration. And I ask upon you to confer upon them the degree for which they are recommended. Students, please come forward.
Candidates for the Bachelor of Science in Business Administration: Sarah Ellen Abramovitz. Stacia Betley, Business Administration. Nastasia Berga, Business Administration. Karong Sai, Business Administration. Colin Joseph Casey, Business Administration. Megan Austin Clancy, Business Administration. Sean Ryan Connolly, Business Administration. Aaron Matthew Hammond, Business Administration. Sean Thomas Kratzer, Business Administration. Stanley Young, Business Administration.
Thank you, Dean Sharma. And now the Dean of the College of Education and Social Services, Dr. Fenice S. Miller.
President Sullivan, I have the pleasure of presenting to you the candidates for the Bachelor of Science in Art Education, Bachelor of Science in Music Education, Bachelor of Science in Education, and Bachelor of Science degrees in the College of Education and Social Services. And I ask you to confer upon them the degree for which they are recommended. Students, please come forward.
Candidates for the Bachelor of Science in Art Education: Ashley Marie Frizzoli, Art Education, and also Bachelor of Arts in Studio Art and Art History. Candidates for the Bachelor of Science in Music Education: Mary Catherine Ellsworth, Music Education. Candidates for the Bachelor of Science in Education: Emily Christian Bowden, Elementary Education, K through 6. Tara Marie Byrne, Elementary Education, K through 6. Nicole Ray Douglas, Individually Designed. Catherine Ann Green, Elementary Education, K through 6. Anna McDougall Kite, Individually Designed. Dakota Ann Leonard, Secondary Education, English. Charles Thomas Loken, Secondary Education, Math. Allison K. McAdoo, Secondary Education, Social Science. Ann C. Musel, Secondary Education, Science. Alexander Cresswell Ostrom, Elementary Education, K through 6. Mariah Jade Slathen, Elementary Education, K through 6. Benjamin David Saul, Secondary Education Science. His degree will be presented by his dad, Roger Franklin Saul, Professor of Pediatrics. Daniel James Soons, Physical Education, K through 12. Presenting the diploma is Karen Richardson Nassif, Professor of Family Medicine. His mom. Andrea Marie Wilson, Elementary Education, K through 6. Candidates for the Bachelor of Science: Amanda Lise Donovan, Early Childhood Preschool. Hannah Adelina Fazy, Human Development and Family Studies. Elizabeth Sylvia Maley, Early Childhood Preschool. Sarah Louise Mungeon, Early Childhood Special Ed. Michael M. Oberding, Early Childhood Preschool. Erica Osorio, Human Development and Family Studies. Brittany Lee Ann Sweet, Early Childhood Special Education. Carly Ann Wallace, Early Childhood Special Education.
Thank you, Dean Miller. And now the Dean of the College of Engineering and Mathematical Sciences, Dr. Luis Garcia.
President Sullivan, I have the pleasure of presenting to you the candidates for the Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering, Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering, Bachelor of Science in Environmental Engineering, Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science degrees in the College of Engineering and Mathematical Sciences. And I ask you to confer upon them the degree for which they are recommended. Students, please come forward.
Candidates for the Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering: Timothy Jefferson Bodell Glassberg, Civil Engineering. Joshua Michael Kennedy, Civil Engineering. Robert Lee Worley II, Civil Engineering. Candidates for the Bachelor of Science in Environmental Engineering: Danielle Bazignani, Environmental Engineering. Candidates for the Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering: Connor James Dwyer, Mechanical Engineering. Scott Silberstein, Mechanical Engineering. Candidates for the Bachelor of Science in Mathematics: Robert Joseph Kucher. Hillary Joanne Delisle, Mathematics. Blake Isaacs, Mathematics. Danica Jade Kennedy, Mathematics. Candidates for the Bachelor of Science in Computer Science: Ram Tinsina, Computer Science.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. And now the Dean of the Rubenstein School of Environment and Natural Resources, Dr. John D. Erickson.
President Sullivan, I have the pleasure of presenting to you the candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree in the Rubenstein School of Environment and Natural Resources, and I ask you to confer upon them the degree for which they are recommended. Please, students, come forward.
Candidates for the Bachelor of Science: Peter Nathaniel Boyer, Natural Resources. Matthew John Comrie, Environmental Sciences. Kendall Christine Cooper, Recreation Management. Kyle Cutliff, Parks and Recreation and Tourism. Ian David Fulton, Parks, Recreation and Tourism. Lauren Johnson, Environmental Studies. Samantha Elizabeth Karras, Wildlife and Fisheries Biology. Jonathan David Krause, Forestry. Aileen Bridget Lennon, Wildlife and Fisheries Biology. Connor J. Lunt, Environmental Studies. Wyatt Shane, Parks, Recreation and Tourism. Laura Irene Tabaka, Wildlife, Fisheries and Biology.
Thank you, Dean Erickson. The Dean of the College of Nursing and Health Sciences, Dr. Patricia A. Prelock.
Saving the very best for last. President Sullivan, I have the pleasure of presenting to you the candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree in the College of Nursing and Health Sciences, and I ask you to confer upon them the degree for which they are recommended. Students, please come forward.
Candidates for the Bachelor of Science: Kathleen Margaret Clark, alternate track, Vermont RN. Ingrid E. Hafner, alternate track, Vermont RN. Shelley Jean Duquette, alternate track, Vermont RN. Kimberly M. Humphrey, alternate track, Vermont RN. David M. McCormick, alternate track, Vermont RM. Crystal Lynn Paluba, alternate track, Vermont RN. Jessica Allberger Pike, alternate track, Vermont RM. Sarah Ellen Gidley Stracco, alternate track, Vermont RN. Drury A. Farnsworth, Athletic Training Education. Danielle Lynn Ferrante, Athletic Training Education. Caitlin Roberts, Athletic Training Education. Amaryllis Thompson, Athletic Training Education. Jeremy Luke Bushy, Communication Sciences and Disorders. Jessica L. Bradley, Exercise and Movement Sciences. Jenna Page, Medical Laboratory Sciences. Candidate for the Postmaster's Certificate in Nursing and the graduate we have all been waiting for, Rebecca Ann Brooklyn, our final graduate, Postmaster's Certificate. Please welcome again Provost David V. Rosofsky, Professor of Engineering, Provost and Senior Vice President, who will give the closing reflection.
Thank you very much. Well, we've come almost to the end of the commencement exercises. And at the end of your time as a student at the University of Vermont, you worked hard, you've learned a lot, you've reached, you've stretched, you've grown. And while this is indeed a terminus and a milestone, it's one I hope you'll also remember quite fondly in the years ahead as a beginning. You leave here today as a graduate of the University of Vermont, one of the nation's great universities, a land-grant university, a research university, a public Ivy, but most importantly now, your alma mater. At the University of Vermont, as you've heard today, you have learned how to learn. So what have we done as a faculty for you? We've taught you critical and integrative thinking. We've taught you how to consider your work in all contexts, social and cultural, economic, political, environmental, scientific, local, and global. We've taught you how to teach and how to learn from one another, how to communicate across cultures and across disciplines, and how to engage as global citizens. We've taught you how to think for yourself, but influence others. We've taught you how to think globally and act locally. We've taught you about the power of pluralism and the imperative of justice. Of course, last week the world mourned the loss of a truly great leader, orator, thinker, humanitarian, and human being. And as Professor Jackson so beautifully described, Nelson Mandela has taught so many so much. His writings and his spoken words were layered with insights, with wisdom, and with challenges. And as we heard from the speaker from the Graduate Senate, Mandela believed fundamentally in the power of education as a lever and as a transformational force, saying, and I quote, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." And we need that change. You're graduating at a time of great challenge and great opportunity for our nation, for our world, for our planet, and for our species. And we know you are among the brightest, most well-educated, most curious, and most capable graduates of any university. We have very high hopes for each of you. Pledge to make a difference in the world that is befitting your UVM education and now your UVM degree. Do something good. Do something great. Do something important. UVM will always be with you, and we will always be proud. As you leave the University of Vermont and begin the next chapter in your life armed with that UVM degree and membership in our family of alumni, I'm asking each of you to reflect on the privilege that you've had to study and to learn at this great university and to work closely with such accomplished scholars and such a dedicated faculty. Without UVM, you would not be where you are here today or where you're going tomorrow. And I'm excited to think about all of your paths ahead. I hope they will bring you back to UVM and to Burlington often. We're counting on your success and your support, and we are already enormously proud of you. Garrison Keeler, a host of A Prairie Home Companion, always closes his remarks with the same words, and you probably know them. Be well, do good work, and keep in touch. I'd like to close with very much the same sentiments. Do great things, keep in touch, and always remember the University of Vermont. Congratulations.
President Sullivan will now confer degrees.
Will the graduates please stand? Wow, this is the time. Graduates, through your successful efforts, as certified by the recommendations of your deans, you have met the requirements of your respective schools and colleges, and thus deserve to receive this hallmark of the University of Vermont. By the virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the University of Vermont, I admit you to the degrees for which you have been recommended. In recognition of your new well-earned academic status, please move the tassels on your mortarboard from the right to the left. Congratulations! And to the parents and family, congratulations. And happy, safe holidays. God willing.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and welcome Mary Kate Ellsworth, who will lead us in singing of our alma mater, Universitas Verdes Montes.
From the lofty peaks of man's
announcement, the University Marshal will close this commencement ceremony. But before we disperse, a few announcements. Please join us for refreshments and remain here. We ask that you allow the platform party and faculty to pass before joining in. And I'd like, for the last time, to introduce our University Marshal, President and Faculty Senate, Professor Julie L. Roberts. Thank you.
Congratulations to our accomplished students, and thank you all for sharing in this celebration today. I officially declare these proceedings adjourned.